Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. This is the impossible bass bebop line technique. What makes it impossible? Impossible? Maybe not. I can play it, but very difficult and very involved and very beneficial for left-hand technique, right-hand technique, and a little bit of chord tone theory. We're going to do this in the key of C in the second position. Then we're going to go through all the keys, 12 keys, and then we're going to go through the 12 keys 4 times going up the neck. And we're going to use 2 positions so we can advance up the neck a half step at a time. On the right-hand technique, we're going to alternate fingers consistently, starting from the index to the middle, index, middle, consistently, and then middle, index, middle, index, middle, index. This makes your technique absolutely smooth. There are some schools of thought that believe that you should alternate every other finger. Because when you kind of rake from one string to the other with one finger, it's not quite the same as attacking it with a different finger each time. I'm playing these examples through the cycle of fourths. I'm using 2 shapes, as I explained. The 2 shapes will be used in a series of 5 keys. The first 2 keys will be using the first shape, and the other 3 keys will use the second shape. And it repeats over and over, 5 keys at a time, and we're going to go through all 12 keys 4 times, and you wind up at the top of the neck. So let me play it for you real slow, and I'm going to play through the first 5 keys, and you will notice it only moves a half step. 5 keys in 2 positions. C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat. I'd like to talk a little about the theory of this bebop line. It's important for you to understand what it is so you can use it more effectively. So we are talking about a 7th chord. And I went through a few keys through the cycle of fourths using 7th chords, but I'm going to isolate the first chord, which is C7, to help explain the theory behind this, and the bebop enclosure. What this is about is using a bebop enclosure within a scale. In this case, a Mixolydian scale, a C Mixolydian scale, including a bebop enclosure approaching the flat 7 of a C7 scale, actually. Here I am at my whiteboard. I'm going to lay out the C Mixolydian scale, and then we're going to build an enclosure that targets the 7th degree, the flat 7 of the C7 scale, which makes it a C7 chord. So we have a C, a B flat, an A, a G, an F, an E, a D, and then back to C again. So the target tone would be the flat 7 of the C scale, which would be a B flat right there. What we're going to do is put an enclosure around that B flat. B flat would be the target tone, sometimes called a target tone or sometimes just called a chord tone. In this case, B flat is the target tone. So what we're going to do in this case, in this line, I used a B, which would be above the B flat, and then I went to the A, below the B flat, and then we approached the target tone B flat. So in the line, you have the enclosure, which goes B, A, B flat. Now an enclosure can work in 2 ways. You can go from above to below and then to the target tone, or below to above to the target tone. In this case, we have one tone is in the scale and the other is an approach tone, half-step approach. Now we're going to take a look at this on the keyboard. A lot easier to see, and you can hear the harmony, how the line works with the chord. So what we have here is first note of the line is an E, that's a third of the C7th chord. Second note is a C, that's the root, it's easy enough. Now the third note is a B natural. A B natural is not in the Mixolydian scale, so its function is a half-step approach from above the target tone, which is a B flat, which is the flat 7. So you have, and that sounds pretty bad when you just isolate it against the C7th chord. Then we continue on to a scale tone, a half step below the target tone, which is B flat, an A to a B. So we have, and then it goes up to the 9 to complete the line, root, and back to the flat 7. Then usually it goes to a major 7th chord or some type of F chord and a bebop progression. So now let's hear it with the chord. This is a C7. Now you notice that B natural didn't sound so bad because it was moving in a horizontal motion going towards the A, which was still not the sweetest sound, but the next note will be the B. That's your resolution. See how that resolves nice? Of course, the 9 sounds beautiful. Can't go wrong with a root. And then back to the target tone, which is a B flat, and then we resolve to the F major 7. And the B flat is a half step above the third of the F chord. So that sounds like that's your 5-to-1 resolution. I hope that helped. I know it's confusing, but hang in there. You can absorb it bit at a time. Some of you with a little background will be able to understand it pretty close to immediately, and others will just have to let it flow in and get what you can out of it, and then through a repetitive process of looking at the stuff over and over, you'll understand. Now I'd like to share some tips on alternating plucking using the middle to the index. So we're going to start with that very first example in C, and I'll go to F and maybe B flat as well to show you how it happens when you switch keys. Here's a nice close-up for you. I hope you can see this okay. So we're going to start with my middle finger right here on the second fret of the D string, which is an E, the third of the C7th chord. When we start with the middle, and then the next pluck will be on the next string down. Now you have a tendency, usually, or I do, or most people do, to just rake it like that. And this is a discipline thing, and to make it alternate is definitely the best sound you can get, I think. You can do pretty well using combinations of raking, and I do as well. I don't religiously do this. I try to, and it just contributes to a better overall technique if you do an exercise like this. So here we go. In middle, index, middle, index, middle, index, middle, index. So you have to concentrate on the first two notes of this to physically think about it and feel it. Because you're crossing strings, and that creates a little bit of difficulty. But listen to that. I mean, I'm alternating fingers. How would you do that? Raking it with, or plucking. I hope you got something out of this video. If you do, I might ask that you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of videos yet to come, like and comment, ask me a question. I'd be more than willing to answer you. Also, on my Patreon page, I have 12 keys with notes and tabs to get you going on this, as well as all the other study materials I used on this video you could download, and at the same time, you'd be giving me some support to help keep this channel going. Until next time, hope to see you again.